How are you?
Yeah, hold on.
Hope you're well. We have a podcast tonight for Suga and Friends. Um, One of my homies is gonna come on. What's up, Vincent? Yeah, we got a podcast episode tonight. I'm excited. One of my homies is gonna come on. I just told him I started the live. What's up, Al? Um, Hello. Oh, excuse me, A-Rock. Yeah, I thought we had already decided that it was A-Rock.
Hey,
Yo, what's going on?
not too much. Friday. How are you doing?
I know, right? I'm doing good. Yeah, I got off of work, and so now I'm just, chilling. Um, I don't know who this Vincent guy is. I don't know who that is. He just wrote something about like being in a drug yard or something.
Oh man, yeah, he's not one of mine.
Yeah, I have no idea.
What up, Vincent?
Yeah, what up, Vincent? So yeah, I'm just chilling. But yeah, I wanted to have you on here because I was like, when we were at the concert, I was like, he's hooping and hollering these lyrics. So I feel like he might be some type of rapper, like the way he's singing right now. But I didn't know for sure. And then like, obviously we know each other from the Discord, from Lupe Discord. And so I was like, when we add each other on Instagram, I was like, wait a minute, like he does music? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was acting a fool. Acting a fool in that crowd, but it was I mean, you could tell it was an amazing performance from beginning to end.
Yeah, it definitely was. And so I was like, when I found out that I was looking on your page, and I was like, wait a minute, like there's like people who like aspire to be rappers, and there are people who like actually do it, right? And like you're one of those people who are like actually doing it. And so I was like, I definitely got to get him on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna get straight into it. So I want to know. I always ask the same question. Like, I want to know how you got into rap. Like, what made you want to start that as a career? And like, how'd you get into it?
So for me, it was a need to express, a need to be heard. Just a 12-year-old kid, not knowing who he was, what his place was in the world, in the crowd. And I was surrounded by music for as long as I can remember. My uncles were rappers and DJs and all that. I was the little kid who shouldn't be at the club, who was brought to the club, watching them say things I shouldn't be listening to. So that was my first exposure to somebody commanding a crowd, and I don't know, just like being like completely aligned with their passion and completely in the moment, commanding a crowd and all that. So that stuck with me. I delved into like photography and videography, access to cameras. It's not like today where every kid has a camera in their pocket. Whatever I can get my hands on as an outlet to express myself, I kind of used. And one summer, I think it was like freshman year, maybe the year before, I was just digging through, the living room closet. I found a headset with the microphone on it, plugged it into a computer, and started remixing all of my favorite songs, all the songs on the radio. Any instrumental I could find on LimeWire, I was rapping over it. So fast forward, I made a lot of friends. I found my voice, and it just became a thing that it was just a part of me. So this is kind of a decade in, maybe like a decade and a half, to just like writing and rapping and battling. A little bit of production here and there, and then this is kind of what started. Yeah.
I feel like those experiences, like having when you're young and you're a kid and you grow up around the LimeWire days, yeah, for sure. when you grow up around like your family members who are like musicians or artists of some sort, of like I had uncles who were DJs too, and so I'd be at the parties or in the clubs too, and I feel like that started my own interest for music, and so it always seems like that contributes to like rappers or artists at some point, like they may have had family members who were already in it, and so like that's how they got influenced. So I definitely hear that too. And when I first heard your music, I was like, he sounds like really experienced. So that probably comes from too just being a part of the industry, or like in the culture rather of hip hop, because DJing is very much a part of the culture of hip hop as well. And so just being a part of that, like you kind of have that sound. And I think also you've probably been working on your craft. So when I first heard your music, I was like, he sounds like he's been doing this for a while. So I did a little research, and you have like streaming music that goes back to like on DSPs to 2016. Like you've probably been doing it way longer than that too. That's just like what's on like the modern DSPs. But I was like, this is why he sounds so like confident and prepared, because he's been doing it for a long time now. So where are you from?
I was born in Massachusetts. I was born in Massachusetts, and I was there until about 2014. When I was 12, we moved to Virginia, and MV ever since.
Do you think, like growing up in, so you're born in Massachusetts, but like growing up in Virginia, were you from like a small town or like a bigger town? And you think that had like any influences on like music, whether it was a challenge or whether it was like easy for you to do music, like, regional, what was the influence?
I don't know, because I mean, I was born in the 90s, so I know what it was like to, go outside and play and stuff, but I'm still like an internet kid. So I feel like geographically, like my location had very little influence on, I guess, how I rapped. Because for me it was, all right, let's put the computer in, listen to what we can and download what we can. And I don't know, that's a tough one. So I grew up in Woodbridge, and it's just like this big suburban cluster, and it's like there's not much to do, and for that reason, me and my friends would just be in the basement just rapping. As far as what was going outside of our own neighborhood, they might have been a little more in tune with like the trend, what was going on down the block, but for me it was kind of like, all right, I'm just listening to my favorite rapper. I'm discovering Lupe. I'm delving into all these internet. So yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying nah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just trying to get it. Oh, go ahead.
This is a very diverse area. Anybody that's here or who has been through here will tell you that, everybody sounds different. Everybody's got their own. So it's an interesting little melting pot, for lack of better words.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, I see you, Badu, big things coming. What's up, Wiz? Yeah, definitely big things coming for Geronimo. For those of you who don't know, this is the Suga and Friends podcast. I do it, I interview, up and coming artists. And today we're here, if you can look at the title, today we're here with Geronimo, and I'm here interviewing him. Just getting some background on who he is and what he has coming up, what he has out right now. So speaking of Lupe, like, who are your, before we go on to like what you have in your release right now, but like, who are your influences, and like, is Lupe one of them?
Oh yeah. I try to watch it because it's so easy to steal subconsciously from the people that you listen to so much. But yeah, Lupe's a big one. That concert that I met you at was so important because I don't know if I told you this, but I've repeated it online a million times. I'll repeat it again here. The way I discovered him was that my friend Jason in high school was like, yo, you got to listen to this dude, blah, 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 blah. Like, he said Lupe's name and I didn't remember it because I'm like, is that even English? What's going on here? Lupe Fiasco sounds like a... But he handed me the CD. He was like, this is the guy I was telling you about. Listen to it. It's going to blow your mind. And it did just that. Like, I listened to it all night, all week, all whatever for the, you know what I mean? And it changed the way I saw storytelling in music and like its applications. Like, this is a song that will console you, and this is a song that will teach you about, little kids in, you know what I mean, in this country doing these things. And it's like, it was a perspective broadening experience, and it definitely to this day molds the way I see music and what it can do. You see it, I can see you. But yeah, Lupe is a big influence for me. Um, I'm a big fan of Blue.
Ooh, love Blue.
You know, Oh the Heavens, Her Favorite Color, Give Me My Flowers. His kind of his ability to get into different pockets. Like he could be minimalistic, and he can be wordy. He just all over the place. He's an artist. Um, I kind of grew up listening to a lot of different stuff. Like my mom would play Maxwell and who is Joe Scott, and then turn around and play like Blink 182 in the kitchen and the living room and all that. So it's a little bit of everything these days. I don't know. What influences me today is hard to answer because um, I don't really listen to music. I'm current. If anything, I'm playing what I was playing 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Partly to study what it is about those songs that can stand the test of time, and partly because I don't have time. But I don't know. I try to be a student, but sometimes I just can't keep up. Maybe that's my age talking.
Yeah. What's so funny is like you're not the first person I've heard say that who's like also an MC, and like when you say your age, you're probably around 30 or so. Like that you're not the first like 30 around 30 or so person I've heard say like I'm not really into music right now. Like kind of like put me on, and I think that is like you explained it perfectly. I think you just kind of like you study music so much and you see what works or like what you admire what has stood the test of time. And in some ways I'm like I listen to music from like the 70s because like that's my favorite genre of music across like all genres. It's like the era of the 70s is like just such a huge influence for me, and so I get it too. But speaking of like music and like your influences, the reason why I asked that is because when I went and first listened to your music, I was like, he has great steps like storytelling elements. Like he's really good at just like giving the message like efficiently as an MC. And so knowing that, I want to go into your new release, Closing Act. Yeah, look at the hat. Hey, we're gonna talk about the symbol too, because I want to know about that too.
Yes, please.
The closing act, right? Just closing act. Really great song. Immediately I noticed like, and maybe that's just like more of like within the last couple of years, just doing my research on you, like your sound, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but like your sound to me is like minimalist. Like you don't have to have like the beats wise, you don't, not that the lyrics is minimalist, but like beat wise you don't have to rely on like crazy drums or like the just like the overly produced things. Like you can work with like the minimalist music and your voice carries the song, and I think it's so stunning when it comes through the earphones and you're like, wow, like he like I can hear what he's saying and he's efficient with it, and the message is getting out to the audience. So when I'm listening to Closing Act, I'm getting your message. I'm getting that you're talking about like a bigger purpose in the world and how we have distractions and how we can work through those distractions. And I'm like, man, like I want to know who produced the record, and like were you looking for that sound? Was that the sound that you were going for? Do you go for the more minimalist sound, or are you not picky in that regard? Like, I want to know all of it.
Those are good questions. Shout out Bless One who produced it. It was a very serendipitous situation. He's a friend of one of my friends, and our mutual friend connected us, and he sent over a couple beats, and that beat, it was instant. It was like I can't not rap to this, and I try to strike while the iron's hot because I have a tendency of I don't know what it is, my relationship with inspiration and being in the flow and ideas coming to me, but I have to seize it while I've got it with my first impression. Otherwise my idea of what it should be kind of balloons, and I kind of dwarf myself in comparison to it. I'm like, nah, it has to be perfect. And like the filter stricter, and it's so strict that I can't possibly fit all my ideas through it. So the as soon as he sent it through, the ideas got going, and I wasn't actively seeking that sound out, but because of who I listened to, it just appealed to me. You know, I kind of I heard the voices of my own idols on that song, and I was like, all right, cool. My own little like friendly competition going on, and then it was a matter of what do I want to say on it. And these days, I find it so much easier to write when I'm not thinking about, you know, what does the world need, and it's more about what moment. It's just got to be a snapshot of what my focus is, what my feelings are in the moment. Like June 2 was like that. I was kind of like,
yes, I love that. That song is great.
and it's kind of like even after I finished it, I was kind of like, well, what's the theme? What's the message? What's the this, the that? But this is just a confessional. As cliche or corny as I think I sound right now, this is just like this is what I have right now, and I'd rather give you that than let my perfectionism and all this other stuff prevent me from putting out something because I don't have like a solid whatever or reason to speak or open my mouth. There's this big thing too. I don't know if this is the right way to go about it for other artists or if this is good advice, but for me personally, I have to make an agreement with myself that I don't have to have something witty or profound to say before my mouth. The inherent, like the value is inherent. And I think the reason I could say that is because there's always that part of me that wants to offer value and you know what I mean, and check myself, not just like, whatever. But yeah, I think for me, it's just like I have to consider this idea that what I'm saying comes from all of my experience and it comes from all of my value, and that'll kind of shine through. So hopefully that's what happened in June 22, and hopefully that's what happened on Closing Act. So yeah, the production is beautiful. As far as like the minimalism of my beats in the past, I think that was kind of just based on necessity. Like Winehouse, I produced that joint, and by no means
fire. I like Winehouse too.
Workaholic, I kind of got the general gist of it together, and then I had my friend, the late EA Beats, to make it good because it didn't sound like that when I sent it to him. But like for me, maybe I became comfortable with it because that's all I had at the time, and maybe that gave me more of a push to like do more on the vocal side of things. But yeah, I don't really have like a vision for how my stuff is to moving forward. But luckily, I have people, creatives like Bless, who have that down, who can kind of be a sounding board and help the vision come to life, give form to the function. So yeah.
Yeah, I hear that because like some people like want to be in that box. Like some people want to be like, the drumless beats, or where they have like a more like minimalist abstract sound, and then some people want like all the drums on their stuff, and then some people want like the modern jazz feel, which I feel like both of those songs, Closing Act and June 22, kind of have like a modern jazz feel to them. Yeah. Like June 22 made me feel, or in Closing Act, like you ever seen those Robert Glasper like sessions where like the rapper will come, like Lupe did it one time I think, and then like Robert Glasper and the band will like play, and then Lupe will just like rap something. Like that's what I got from like listening to both of those. I was like, wow, he would be really great to do something like that.
Shout out Ryan Clark. He produced June 22. That was another one where I was just kind of like, it dropped in my inbox and I had to pack it. And that couldn't have come to life without those specific people giving the beat. So, yeah.
And I want to talk about your songwriting aspect too, because like I said, I think the songs, both of the songs, June 22 and Closing Act is his newest release, did a really good job, like I said, of like just being straightforward and getting to the point. But I really love the hook on it, and I'm like a stickler for like finding great hooks because I like songwriting aspects in general. Like if I find an artist that is good at it and like efficient, like instantly you're one of my faves, you're already on the playlist, because then I know that is like a standard that if you're taking the time out now to like do that early in your career and not have to like have people on the outside come in and like control that, then I think like you're already like so eons ahead of like your competition per se, and then even for yourself, like you're putting in your best foot forward. So the hook on Closing Act, I'm so blind with eyes wide open. I'm gonna find my sight when I close them. I was like, he's the word choice, like the diction, all of that matters when you're like writing good hooks, like how you're saying the words, like even when you pick the words, like like how you pronounce them. Like, you guys have to listen to the song to, like, the way I just read it wasn't doing it justice, but you guys have to go listen to closing to really get it. Like, it's really stunning. It's like right to the point. It's like you're not doing a ton of like lyrical miracle work in that hook, but it's not supposed to be, right? Because it's supposed to just like do what it's supposed to do and like offer like a concise message, and that's exactly what it did. And I'm like, wow, he's like really, really great at songwriting. And so I want to know, like, and you kind of already mentioned it, but like are you consciously like working on like aspects in songwriting? Like, how are you going about, like, have you always been a great writer, or like what is the work that you're putting into becoming a great songwriter as a rapper?
I think I had phases. I think when I started, I just wanted to say things that sounded cool. And then I got around rappers that were actually saying something, you know. And I was like, oh, this is what depth feels like. This is what it feels like to do more than just rhyme. And then I think after I got really good at rhyming, um, at the same time as I got good at rhyming, it became a little less, I won't say less valuable, but it became a little easier to do now that you have the rhymezone.com, now that you have the internet in the palm of your fingers. It's kind of, for me anyway, I think like rhyming words is the easy part. Since I've been doing this for as long as I have, a metric for me, part of what my standard is, will I enjoy listening to this song in 10 years, or will I cringe? Because there's songs that I've got on the DSPs that I can't really listen to. Appreciate them for the just like that youthful
like
energy,
the journey,
yeah. And the things that went into it, and the people that I worked with, those parts of it help like allow me to like appreciate it from that perspective. A big part of my standard, a big part of what I'm writing is will I cringe when I listen to this in 10 years? Because I'm sure you're familiar with form follows function. So for me, it's kind of like, let's start with what it is that I want to feel when I'm performing at an open mic and nobody's paying. What do I want the listener to feel when I'm spamming their Instagram and their Twitter, as I have been all week with closing act streaming on all platforms? What do I want them to feel when they're hearing it? I don't want to be jarring, but I want to be alive and allow like the parts of myself that need to scream to scream. What my writing process looks like these days is, what do I care about? What am I focused on? And how can I give that kind of a compelling a compelling mask, a compelling shell? Because I think, and the reason why I'm fans of Lupe and Blue and Nas and those types is like there's like the logical, there's like the theme, right? The moral, the thing that you take with you, the lens through which you can see other situations, right? But then there's the surrounding story, there's the narrative, there's like the image that reflects that. Like trying to think of an example, but we'll probably be sitting here all day because my recall is so terrible.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, like a big thing that I think is what's helped me anyway with songwriting, like the further inward I reach to the stuff that actually matters to me, the closer I am to like touching somebody else. So I try to be as honest as I can with what I feel, and try to make magic out of the mundane. Like the song that I put out called "Okay" is just like a snapshot of, okay, I'm trying to get a new job. I need some certifications in order to get the new job, and I'm an alcoholic. So that's just like I don't know who this is relevant to, but I'm sure that, with all the, the people crawling on this planet, that this is gonna be like a direct copy, like a mirror image of somebody else's situation. If only a couple people get it, if only a couple people see themselves in it, then it's a victory. And if not, at least I was kind of like true to myself and gave an accurate snapshot of where I was. I guess I'm just trying to take pictures of where I'm at so that later on I could be like, oh, that's where I was. I didn't doctor this image. I didn't have to make it flashier, give it any explosions. It was kind of just what it was. So, yeah.
I love that too. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna add that, like, the rhyme is gonna form around it. Like, your old, it's just like, what am I trying to say? And then the rhyme structure, the cadence, all that is just like automatic. And I don't think that's not, me bigging myself up or bragging about my years of writing. That's just kind of like what your brain will do. It'll put it together on its own. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear everything you're saying, and it gives your music more of like an authentic feel and like so message oriented. And I think, but your lyrical work is still present and it's still there. Like you said, it's coming natural. But I feel like nowadays it's like almost so binary. It's either like you get like the super like lyrical folks who are like, oh, I have like counting how many syllables are in there, and oh, I have double entendres, or oh, like multi this, multi that. And it's like, okay, but where's the message? Like, you could do all of that work and like the message is like nowhere. Or like on the opposite end, it's like the on the
my problem. That's been my problem, because I'm a slave to the rhyme scheme, and I'm like, but I could do this and this and this, and it's like, but like, you destroy, like, you're killing them. Like, like, what's the story? Let's get back to the story. Let's course correct. So yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of that, and it's kind of like, that's why a lot of the super lyrical rap is unlistenable, because it's like, we're rapping about rap. Like, the rap is supposed to be a vehicle that takes us to the place.
Rapping about rap is hilarious.
Yeah, instead we're taking the rap vehicle to rap land. So yeah, that's been
it's so funny because like I enjoy that like type of that like very niche, and to me I feel like they're like right now they're like a very niche amount of people who are like popular. I don't mean like the underground folks. You got a lot of underground folks who are really, really good at that work, but you have a very like small amount of like really famous popular rappers right now that are really, really good at that work. And like Lupe is one of them, and like Lupe consistently keeps that up, but also prioritizes messages, right? Like both of his albums had a bunch of messages, and so I feel like when you have that kind of thinking like you have, it's like similar to a thinking like Lupe. Like you can do the super like lyrical work and have your entendres in there and have your syllables in there and have the rhyming, the rhyme scheme, but also maintain the message. And then I feel like on the opposite, and like I said, it was going to be a binary. It's like on the opposite, and if you're not doing like the super high lyrical work, then it's like turn up music, which I love too. So I love both of those avenues, but it's like, where's the middle ground? And so I love finding artists that can like do both. And I feel like you are one of those people. And so I'm super excited for you to continue on in this journey. And I'm so glad that you are here, and because a lot of people like have like talents and gifts, but like they can't find their way into, doing the work, providing the action to make sure that dream comes true for them. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we move on, I wanted to talk about the symbol on your hat. Yeah. And then I'm going to ask you another question, but I want to talk about the symbol on your hat. Like, what does it mean? What's the significance? Is it just significant to closing act, or is it for you as an artist in general? Or, tell us a little bit about the symbol on your hat.
Yeah, I think it's like the simplest way to put it is making something out of nothing. Like but it's really just a shadow. It's just like a reflection of just your bare hands. So my wife, who created the art, shout out to her. She whipped it together in like a matter of minutes, and she made it with her bare hands. And when we write, we're making it with bare hands. So the bird is to symbolize freedom, right? We're trying to fly, and we're working our 9-to-5s, and we're we're doing so we can do what we want to do, and it's all just happening with our bare hands. So that's kind of what's going on there. And shadow puppets, I don't know, it had like a vintage kind of feel to it, so I thought it was cool. We were conscious about trying to do something that could go on a shirt, go on a hat, because I've never really focused on the merch that much, but this one felt special. So I was like, all right, let's do it. let's put
No
this.
doubt.
That's where that came from.
Love that, and I love that your wife is involved in that, because that does make it so much even more special to have it personal. Speaking of freedom, like I want to go back to like my last question on this little segment about your music and your new release. But in closing, I spoke a lot about like having freedoms to do things, like freedom in general and freedom even in your career. Like, and I want to talk about like freedom as an artist and your thoughts on that. Like right now, I'm assuming you're independent because like I don't assume that you're signed to like a label or anything right now. Yeah. But just like your thoughts on like independent and being independent as an artist right now, and your, you know, just the hustle of it, you know, and the reward of it as well, you know. And there are other people who will watch this back, who are artists. I have a lot of people on my page who are other artists, and sometimes the independent struggle is hard. It's not easy, especially when you're a really talented person. And you have those offers, right? You have those, you can sign to a label and you can, but like, what's the balance for you, and what's the significance? Like, what's the hustle? What's the reward? Like, I'm kind of just interested.
It's a good question. I think for me, I think I turned 30 this year. But there were many points before that where I looked at music and I was like, what am I doing? If the goal is to do what I love, well, I'm doing that, if the goal is to have, 1,000 people pull up to the show, that's a different conversation. I think that a lot of artists need to figure out what their vision is and figure out what influences that vision. Like I said earlier, my love for music was born from like a hunger for significance and a hunger to express myself and to belong. And these days I understand that there are different ways to fill that bucket. And that's like that's the positive motivation. The negative motivation that would steer me away from, the initial dream, which is to go up there, is just like how bad it is for a lot of people that are recognized on the street and have to like watch sticks and so for me it's what role, what space will music take up in my life. I think for me personally, and it's funny because originally I don't know, I didn't tell Bless about this, but I scrapped my original like 2 verses that I was going to write over Closing Act, because it was literally me just like explaining how I'm Peter Parker. And I'm just like, I'm Peter Parker by day, and just like I'm just like this superhero rapper just slinging webs at night. What up, CJ? But I scrapped it because I wanted to stick to something a little more universal, a little more relatable, a little more general, so that the person can inject themselves into like the landscape that I put together. But for me, music is ideally, like when I reach my version of success, music is the thing that I can do that pays the bills and allows me to create freely, spend my day how I want to, without worrying about other things and not having to sit at a desk doing something that just feels like a means to an end. I would love to have a world or a community of people that recognize me for my talent without sacrificing my freedom to walk around. I don't want to be famous. Like I feel like that like currency is like, I feel like the perfect example of like what a rapper
is. Yeah.
And I think that
from my hometown too.
Hell yeah, he's a legend. And I don't think we can ever understand how much hard work goes into that without ourselves. But from the outside looking in, at least, it seems like a worthy path, as opposed to signing to a major and not enough. And because I don't think we understand what that really means, like what a relationship with means. But I don't know. That's kind of like a tangent. But yeah, I think that we all need to think about what our vision is. I don't think we spend enough time on vision and and what that consists of, what boxes we're trying to check. Yeah, so for me, I have the time of my life when I'm performing, so I would like to do that consistently for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I was gonna
I,
get into your performing because I had some questions because you
oh yeah,
are. I've seen clips of it because I was like, oh
yeah.
yeah.
Performing. I'm having the time of my life. I got a performance tomorrow.
Hey.
I want to put out my music directly to the consumer. Eventually, I want to just get off all streaming platforms completely, and that not feel like a sacrifice, because I want people to have access. And at the end of it all, I want to be able to create facilities and platforms that allow for other people to express themselves. Um, for that for that other kid that's out there, put music online because they just found a headset microphone in their closet, but they don't really know. They don't really have a home for their work. So that's kind of what I want to be. I just want to be a vessel for grace, and I want the music to power that, create a platform for that. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, yeah, that definitely answer. You give great answers to the questions too. Yeah, definitely. The family Terrell, definitely introspective in life and in his music.
And DJ was there from the very beginning. He was one of the ones that were there at like level one. I love that guy.
Yeah. But you're so right too, and I feel like between like millennials and then like Gen Z, like of artists who are coming up, like I feel like we're so like even some of my favorite artists are like they teeter between that like not really like super famous, but like also they have a name, right? So like the Sabas and like the Sminos and like they can still track like they're like they have a level of notoriety, right? Like people definitely know like when they walk into a room, like people definitely know who they are, but they also have this level of like success that is not so big to where like they can't go anywhere like a Drake or something like that where he can't step up into a mall and go shopping for some shoes, right? Like he has to do everything like kind of on the low and move a certain way. And so I'm kind of obsessed with that like aesthetic and like life journey as well, just on the outside looking in as a consumer, as a person who has a lot of friends who are artists. Like a lot of people just want to teeter. I think Lupe is a good example of that too. Like even though Lupe is like extremely like everybody knows his songs, like almost everybody in this world I feel like knows at least one or two Lupe songs, but yet he can still traffic this world and like go out to eat places and like not be bombarded by like a bunch of people and feel like he can't exist. I have another question. Were you in a rap group at one point, or is that just a collab between you and other artists?
Yeah, I was part of a few a few rap.
Okay, because I was looking at your catalog and I was like, wait a minute, it's like him and like three other people.
Wait, was that?
It was from the album Where?
Oh yeah, so yeah, during the pandemic, my good friend Blake G, super dope creative from Virginia, sent me a song, and the song became an EP, and
Yeah.
Tranquility, Swift, Ian, Jason Hayes. We just created a band. It wasn't officially a band. It's just us together. It's an intersection of voices and sound, blends instruments together. It's hip hop. It's
Yeah, it had like other types of sounds too. Yeah, kind of rockers feel a little bit.
It's dope. I liked it. We had so much fun. Booked a venue to like record a virtual show. We created a landing page for it. My wife created like little characters for us.
Yeah, I saw that. That was the cover like of the EP was dope. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. It gave me like gorilla, like yeah.
It was dope. So we actually gave it a name. So it's Aojeo, which is Latin, and it's meant to represent our desire to grow and expand and evolve, whether it's in our craft life in general. So yeah, I'm actually bringing them out. They're gonna perform with me tomorrow for the sets. Yeah, I love those guys. So individually, I think those guys are super dope. When we come together, we make something that I think only we can make. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because I was like, wait a minute, is he like also a part of a group? But speaking of performing, I've seen like clips of you like performing and stuff, and you have like really great stage presence, and like you seem comfortable up there. I mean, I don't know what's going on in your head or like mentally, but you have great vocal projection. And so I want to know, like, because performing is like such a hard thing to do, no matter what genre you are in. But at least if you're like up there singing, you can kind of like distract people. Like with the technique of singing is so distracting. But like when you're rapping, you kind of got to make up for like the lack of those things that happen when you're a singer, when you're like a large band or something, and you got like multiple moving parts. So when you're a rapper, and a lot of times you're like somebody like Lupe Fiasco is just up there by himself. I mean, he has his band, but he's just up there by himself, like putting on an entire experience. I don't want to say a concert. It's like an experience. And so I want to know for you as an artist, like, how do you work on performing? Like, what's your methodology? Do you have a methodology for performing? Like what do you do to like work on that and like build that? Because I feel like that's one avenue where like rappers especially do not invest in, because a guy like Lupe Fiasco has two great albums that he can tour off of for years and put on these great, it's not even a concert. I don't even want to say a concert. It's an experience. And I feel like you are on your way there because you're like, what I see from these clips is like, it's so just even on like a video, it's translating to being entertaining and you're energetic. And like, that's half the battle. So I feel like I wanted to ask, like, what's your like thought process in it, and like how do you go about performing, because it's such a scary thing for all artists but especially rappers.
Yeah. I think up until recently, I haven't had any kind of conscious approach to it. I would kind of just go up there and rap because I was convinced that, well, if I just rap, then they'll like me, they'll listen to me. But I've attended the concerts of a lot of like really dope local performers, and I've got to study them and see what it is about them that is so infectious and so inspiring. Um, as much as I can express through my words, there's so much more that we can express through our body language and our breath control. Like Lupe, example of somebody with excellent breath control in his 40s. I'm over here in the crowd, and this guy's just like make it look easy. So I think that without really knowing it, I thought that I was above practice. These days, that's not so much the case. So what I'll do is I kind of break it up and then bring it back together. Like I'll be in the car just blasting the music and trying to see how I perform in that environment, because my tendency is to try to compete with the music, with the volume, despite the fact that I have a microphone in my hand that's designed to, you know what I mean, amplify my voice. So I maintain that in that loud environment without having in ears. And so I've been practicing that in the car, just working on my breathing, and then I'll go in the garage and work on the other stuff. How do I make use of the space that I have on the stage so that I'm not just like standing up here in one place? Because I've had performances where I was bored, and then I was like, I'm bored. They're definitely bored. If people like, I don't know, I'm my own worst critic. I know that, but something just doesn't. It's hard for me to believe that anybody who says to me, "You did great," really means it. And I don't. I bored, so I don't know. I feel like you have to go first. You have to be excited in order for them to, excitement that you want them to feel, or at least start there. That's just my thinking, but yeah. So I'll work on my projection. I'll work on my memorization because that's another thing. You have to know what your words are. I think a big thing I don't like about the way some people perform is, you're competing against your track instead of coming up there with a performance version. So I'm up there trying to make sure that it's tight so that when I'm up there with only my instrumentals, I don't look like an idiot in my words. And I think for me, that's like a newfound respect I have for the people that are attending. If you're coming out, whether it's for me or for anybody else, I owe it to you to at least know what my words are and to memorize them, like rehearse what I'm doing. Respect to them, respect to the people that brought me out and gave me a platform, because I don't know if I'll have one again. So yeah, and then I bring it together. I bring it together, I run through it until I'm bored, and then I try to find something to be excited about within the process, and then I come back to it and do it again until I'm bored again, and kind of just repeat that cycle. So that's what my routine has been. That's what my life has looked like for the past 2 weeks, just rehearsing and figuring out the flow of the set and what do I say in between and all that stuff. I feel like performance is such an observed aspect of the art. Like you've seen the clips. You'll go on social media. You'll see somebody's performance, and you'll be like, "Where did the magic go?" You know, this is supposed to be your bread and butter. You're that's kind of and I watch a lot of performance footage. I watch a lot of old Ye performances. A lot of the iconic performances. I try to like, all right, that element. I could work on that. I could do that.
Yeah.
Incorporate that into my own recipe. So that's what my approach is.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. Because, like, I know some really great rappers who are, like, afraid to get up on that stage. And it's, like, a part of the job. And not because they're, like, there's anything wrong with the type of music they make or they're not, like, confident in their music. It's about being confident in performing because it's so hard. And I don't blame them, right? Like, it's not an easy, feat. Like, it's something that's hard and you have to work at it. But the earlier you start doing it into your career, it seems like the better you're out, in the future. Because my favorite ever like performance. Oh, I got a few, but my favorite ever like rap performance is a video. You can go online and find it. We're talking a lot about Lupe, but he's so great that we're gonna keep talking about him. He was in Chicago. My best friend actually was at this concert. I was not at this concert. My best friend was. This was like 10 years ago. So like right when The Cool came out, or more than 10 years ago, like 15 years ago, like right after The Cool came out. So maybe this was like 2009 or something. So a long, long time ago. He was in Chicago and he performed The Cool, and it was like on Halloween night, and it was like packed. It was in his hometown. It was in Chicago. It was like packed. And you have to go look this up on YouTube if you haven't seen it already. Amazing. It's one of the most amazing rap concert performances I've ever seen. And I wasn't even there. I'm just watching it. Like, it's being translated through a freaking computer. And it was like, it's so amazing. It gives you chills when you watch it. So amazing. But that just goes to show, like, he's been doing it for so long. That was almost 15 years ago. So he's been doing it for that long, like, since the earliest parts of his career. And so it translates. And so I wanted to ask you that question because I think it's so important because you're doing it and you're performing. Like, you got a performance, you said tomorrow? You got a performance tomorrow. And so it's like you're out here for real. Like, like in them streets, like you for real out here, like doing the work. And it's paying off. And it's going to pay off, like, even more in the future.
And you really got perception. I want to add a big thing that's kind of changing the way I see performance is something that I witnessed recently. I'm a big fan of like stand-up comedy, but I have many open mics, and I was at a show pretty recently that actually it consisted of comedy, it consisted of stand-up, because the comedians got rained out, so they had to come in. There was like in the indoor portion, so they kind of interspersed them. It was cool. So I had the privilege of watching a bunch of comedians perform for an audience that wasn't really giving it up. And whether the joke was good or bad, it was interesting to see a comedian like commit to something that giving them the kind of like instant feedback, the real-time feedback that you would hope for in that moment. Just like absolute crickets, or even worse, just like the sympathy laugh or sympathy claps. There's something about watching somebody go the distance and like trust their material in that moment. Because I look at half of them and I'm like, I would have walked off like 5 minutes ago. I don't need to finish this. This is just, it's done. But I feel like that's something that a lot of performers of any genre could learn a bit from, because you really just gotta trust your material. For those of us who are like bar heavy, not too much on the hype end of the spectrum, you don't have people jumping around as often as you know another artist was performing their material. So it's like they might be registering it, they might be processing it, they might be checking their phone, but you have to be delivering it as if it is just like the elixir of life on a platter. And I learned
And
that.
find some like moments of creativity too. Not to cut you off, but like
Right?
look at the way Ye performed like 10 years ago versus the way he does now. And he has a lot of money. And I'm not saying you got to be like Kanye West, but what I'm saying is like he doesn't perform the same way like with the mic like hyping. He has more of like a visual like museum type of performance, and that's totally possible even if you don't have the type of coins that he has. But just in some way, shape, or form, like lights, use of like visuals. Maybe you bring something to the concert with you, or
Yeah.
like different types of things that could like help your performance. Like you got to have some like creative bone in your body if you're not that type of person to be like Lupe Fiasco and jump around on stage.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good point. I think the creativity for a lot of us ends in the studio, but it needs to come in performances. It needs to come into how we package and present things. Absolutely. That's a great point.
Yeah. Oh, and I also want to get on your visuals because you also make that. Not only are you performing, but you also put on little visuals. Like for closing act, you had this. You posted up the visual that went with it. And it was you. Were you on a tennis court? It looked like you were on a tennis court or something. But even that, like, just want to see that as a viewer. I want to see that as somebody that's listening to your music because I want to see you. I want to see who you are. I want to see what you got going on, and it just adds to the experience. Because then I could like share that video with my friends and like, hey, look at this guy. I'm not just sharing, the audio, right? I can share a little visual with it, and it adds to the marketing. So I just wanted to ask you about like, what's your, how you get into visuals, like, how do you get past just the initial like, oh, I'm recording myself, like.
Yeah. I think I share that. I share that appreciation for artists who have more than just one element associated with what they're releasing. I'm copying everything. Everything that I've done, I've copied from other people, and I try to, because I'm a fan first. I'm a fan of all of it. So I just try to be like, all right, what
You're
is
a student. You learn.
absolutely. And also like there's a common theme here. Like everything that you've like given me props for has been like out of necessity. Just like it beats the shooting at a tennis court. But I made an agreement and it's that if this is the best I can do, then let me do it and not really worry about it. Because it's better than, as you said, not having that. I'll either scroll or look at it for a couple seconds. So yeah, I try to just make it an event. Like make it an event. Make like package the song as if the world was waiting for it. Like you were saying about watching footage of a performance from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's on the internet. It's going to live forever if you allow it to. And it would be great for there to be this whole little world that you created that other people can visit, no matter how much time has passed. So that was the time when Geronimo was just rapping on a tennis court. And do next. So yeah, it's all necessity. Like I try to make it so I'm not letting my camera collect dust and um what can I do with the 2 minutes that I have, the 10 minutes that I have before I have to go back to work. And I'm glad that you gave me the kudos for that because I just recently tweeted, man, I love how I spend hours and hours on a clip that maybe 2 to 5 people will watch it more than twice. So it means a lot. It means a lot. But yeah, just try to, and even that, it's kind of like, I've kind of like passed that point where, you know, the views really matter. Like the big thing is that I did it. And I feel like a younger me would look at that and say, that's kind of corny. That's cliche. It's this, it's that. It sounds nice, but that's like the actual truth for me now. And I feel like I'm so grateful for that. Like the victory is that I did it. And a big thing for me is one of my homies passed last year, and he was into film and photography. And when he passed, I was forced to look at the way he spent his life, time, with friends, his family, and his craft. And when he passed, he had all this work for us to remember through. And it's like it gives us a presence that wouldn't be. So for me, it's kind of like I have no choice but to do the same. I have no choice but to going back to copying, to copy that and create these worlds so that I don't know. I don't want to get morbid, but I want to.
No, I hear you.
Absolutely. So that's where that comes from. I want to make it a.
Yeah, so I totally get that, and I totally agree. And I think once we stop like we get over ourselves essentially, like, and like step into it, like that's when you see the real magic, right? Like you keep using the word magic, that's when the real magic happens, right? Because you have to imagine it first in order for it to like actually happen, right? You got to start with imagination, you got to start with that creativity, and then you got to put forth the work, and you're gonna see like you're gonna see some sort of benefit with those three people. You don't know who those three people are. One of them could be a person who wanna, you know, give you, an interview or something, or one of the persons could be somebody who wants to write about you. You know, like you just never know who those 3 or 5 people are gonna be, and so I kind of had to step out of that too, and like that's the reason why we're here right now. So we're almost at the 1 hour mark. So I wanted to get into like music intertwining with your personal life. Um, you're like for this podcast specifically, you're the second guest to come on. But I also have another podcast that I have like incidentally, like all of my friends are artists, so they've been on. We've talked about how music intertwines with their personal life, and how they manage or upkeep a life outside of music, and then still maintain and do music. And so my question is it, and I ask the same question to everybody, like, is it difficult to maintain life as of right now, outside of rap, and how are you able to continue to make music, considering that you do have a whole life outside of rap? Like your whole life isn't just rap, right? Even if like 50% of it is, or 60% of it is, you still have life outside of it. And so is it hard to maintain it? Like how do you, you don't have to get super personal, but you know what I mean? Like just generally, like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's difficult. I mean, yeah. For me, I have a tendency of going all the way left or all the way right. Like when I find time for music, I cling on to it because I don't know what I'm going to get. And if you look at what I've released, it's not a lot, and I've been doing it for a long time, and there's much space in between each release, and yeah, I just have to make it a must. But at the same time, I have to check myself and make sure I'm not neglecting my other responsibilities. To be honest, it's really a struggle for me. I haven't figured that balance out just yet. But it helps to have a job where you could kind of goof off a little bit and no one's watching. Get you a work home job like I've got.
Yeah.
So much of the content creation happened on company time, but my boss, so it's fine. All the like any fire gets put out, the calls when they come in, I answer them. But it helps to get you a job where you can just disappear for a little bit, like just getting really practical. What up?
Hey, so
building. Yeah, just getting really practical. Like if you're an artist and you need like more time for music, just get a job where you're not like they could put a dead body at the counter, and you get a concierge job somewhere that you could like spend half of the shift pitching your music to different playlists and stuff. It helps a lot, but first you got to get the job. So there's that. But yeah, it's a challenge, man. Like I always feel like, I'm working on music. Maybe I should be like, I should be spending time with my wife, being a good husband, right? Or I should be checking in on the homie who called me a week ago and I forgot to call him back. I'm still working on that. But one day at a time. I'm starting to audit myself more often, just the way that I'm spending my time and about what I'm looking for when I'm, perpetually scrolling. Like, what is it that I'm trying to find in this phone? Just look at the ways I spend my time, because I think the truth is I do have a lot of time in the day, and it's just a matter of spending it more efficiently. But then it's like looking at what it is that's preventing me from doing better, since I supposedly know better. But it's hard. I don't really have an answer for that. I'm still trying to figure.
No, I think you did though. You did give an answer. I think the answer is more than sufficient. Everybody answers this question differently, and I'm so interested to hear, because like artists' perspective on maintaining like personal lives outside of music, and like whether it's a separation or it intertwines. How do you, some of my other artists have been on we've gotten into conversations about, like, you're married, for instance, like you have a wife, like, some of my other people, they are not married, they're single, or some of them have girlfriends, or some of them, like, even that aspect of it, like, can you be a successful rapper and like be married and have a wife? And it's like, some people are like, yeah, you can, and like some of my others are like, nah, I can't. Like, me personally, I can't do both. But for a person like you, it's like, nah, I am gonna do both. I'm honest about, struggling with my personal life and maintaining a job and maintaining, equalizing my time between music and my family. So I just love to hear like people's response and answers because it's always so different and people experience life differently. So I like to give different spaces for different opinions and different lives, and that it is possible. So for people out here who watch this back, like you can, for like, one of my past artists was married. He's like, yeah, you can be married and like be a rapper and be successful. And then, other people have a different opinion. So I want people to be able to see a variety. Like, yeah, you got some artists who are married. You got some of them who are single. You got some of them who have girlfriends. You got some who have full-time jobs. You got some of them who don't have jobs at all. It's like such a variety of experience.
I mean, it's clear that you do a good amount of research before you bring guests on. Do you have any checks and balances or ways of, keeping that balance for what you do?
No. Like, so I'm a teacher, right? And so I feel like I incidentally just have the ability to like make time where there isn't, because you have to do that so often in like education, and when you're a teacher you got to make time that you don't have, and you got to learn how to manage time. And so I think I've just gotten really good at like making time, and managing time and doing things when I don't want to do things, sacrificing, and being okay with the sacrifice. And so, yeah, not really, but like I kind of just like go with the flow and make time where, I can, and just try to have good time management and like schedule and plan things out. But I love this part, right? Like, I think at some point in my life, I was like, I remember when I was like, I think I might have been like a senior in high school. Like, I had a mentor, and her husband, he did like mentorship, but he also like traveled the world and stuff. But I remember him asking me, he was like, are you sure like you just want to be a teacher? And I was like, yeah, what do you mean? Like, I dedicated my life to this. Like, I wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl. And he was like, yeah, but are you sure that's all you want to do? And at the time, I had so much conviction. I was like, yeah, like, I'm going to, like, be a teacher. I'm going to, like, get married and, like, settle down. And he could see in me what I couldn't see at the time, which was that, like, I had other interests and I had other, like, gifts that could be utilized for other things, and exploration of other things. And it got to my point where I was like, yeah, I kind of like love music and I like to talk to people. And I specifically have a respect for the hustle and the underground or the up and coming. And I want to like share with other people good music and like stories and experiences of other people. And so that's kind of how I got into the IG live sessions. So
I love that. Thanks.
Yeah, no doubt. So one last question, and then I have like the very last question. But the second to last question is, like, what's your support system like? Like, what do you do? Like, who's around you? Who's supporting you? I know you mentioned your wife. Like, also, like, what do you do to take care of yourself? To like, whether it's your like mental or your physical, like who's supporting you, who's in your support system, / what do you do to take care of yourself, like mentally, if it's physical?
I'm lucky enough to have a few really grounded friends of like principle and morals and things like that. So, and those are guys that refuse to leave me alone, which is because I'm a recluse. They know that. Give me for it. So yeah, I'm really lucky in that regard. And my wife is awesome. So it's just good to have somebody by your side that might notice some things that you might not notice yourself. Just because you're you doesn't mean you know what's going on out of yourself, or the ways that certain things kind of express themselves. So that's huge. I'm also a person of faith, so I'm like, I have the cheat code. Like, I have an ability to exist in and live with things that don't make sense on the surface. And consider that there's a broader perspective than what I can come up with in the moment. And I don't know. Like I've just been like a very like meditative person since I was a kid, and it's especially nowadays. Like I don't know what it is about in 30, but there's just some phase. I've only been here for like 3 months, but like this is great. Like there's things that will not phase me anymore. Like I'll get upset. I have my first reaction, and then when there's oh yeah, I know what I know, and I can't lose myself to this stuff the way I would have 5 years ago, 2 years ago. So yeah, I have a few really good friends, and I have a great wife. Very fortunate for that, and then I just have my I have my routines. You know, my mental toolkit. I'll take a walk. I'll go work out. I'll do my breathing. Certain things that get me out of whatever my state, because I understand that what I'm feeling or the thing that I'm stressed by, the way I'm understanding it is usually influenced by the state that I'm in, more often than not. So I'm pretty good at just zooming out and putting the controller down and stepping away from the puzzle when focusing on it doesn't seem to be leading me closer to any kind of solution. Um, and that when that doesn't work, I just submit. I just pray. Week is just gonna suck. This turbocharger is just gonna shit the bed while I'm on a work trip. My friend's gonna die, and I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here or not. So that's kind of what it is. I kind of just try to get to that place where I can submit and try to remember, you know, what I know deep down and way up. And
Okay, thank you for answering that question. I also asked that question to all of mine. What's up, No Face Rapper?
my guy,
Hey, I asked that question to all the artists that I like have conversations with, because I like to know how people like what support systems that people have, because it can like and like how you take care of yourself, because it can really make or break like your passions and what you do, and how you get through like intense or tough moments. So I always love to ask that question. And if people don't have answers, I like for them to like think about those answers, right? To like generate that thought in their minds, like, well, what do I do to take care of myself? Maybe I should do that. And that it is a normal and like a standard that you should, live by. So I lied. This is a legend right here. Oh, I already know, and that's why I'm sitting here having this conversation with you.
man, I love this guy. I love this guy.
Yeah. So I lied. I do have two more. I have two more questions. So that was like the third to the last. So my next question is like kind of left field. It's kind of like not from what we just answered, but I want to know. I also ask this question a lot too, because I feel like we get so caught up in our own like, especially in hip hop. It's like, oh, I listen to hip hop. But the next question is like, what's your favorite genre of music outside of hip hop or genres? Who are you listening to? What do you like?
These days, I like early 2000s pop, like
Yeah.
Boys. Who was the one that I was listening to recently? I don't know. You remember LFO? LFO used to come on like Disney Channel, like on the music videos in between the show.
I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to jog my memory when the cast ends.
I unironically sit down and listen to this like early 2000s pop, just like that's just like Justin Timberlake with the ramen noodle. Yeah, just that, because that's when I was a kid. That was just like fun. So listen to that, a little bit of that. I don't know what genre you would categorize Radiohead as, but I've been listening to a lot of Radiohead.
Oh, I love radio. Yeah, Radiohead. They are kind of ambiguous. I love radio.
I was listening to In Rainbows the other day.
Oh, I love that album.
Just from start to finish, and it's like since every album is so different, sonically, it's a time capsule. Every time you remember where
it's so nostalgic.
Yeah. What else? I think that's pretty much it. Just like early 2000s pop. Yeah, Radiohead is so dope, man. Like,
yeah, Radiohead is dope. They have such a style that they could collab with like anybody. Like they could collab with like someone in their kind of genre, like whatever that genre is. They could collab with like a hip hop artist. Like they're one of those groups, like those bands that's just everybody loves Radiohead. Like,
yeah, I feel like they can't do wrong at this point. Whatever they want to do is fun. Nothing.
Yeah, they're already instilled in history.
It's an experience every time.
Okay, so now the very last question is, what's next for Geronimo?
Oh man, I don't know.
Mm.
I feel like when people, I don't know, when people, I don't know, when people look for a forecast for me, I'm just like, it's not for me to determine. I
Mm.
feel like that feels like the easy answer, but I don't know.
No, yeah.
I just take it as it comes. But if it's as far as I can influence it, there's going to be more music. And
As you said that, no face rapper, make this guy drop a project. That is hilarious. That's like right as you were saying it.
no, he's one of my hostages. he's, he's one of my hostages. We have a song that we're supposed to release sometime soon, but I have to figure out. I have to figure that out because it's not all the way there yet. But it's not gonna. It's not. I promise. It's not gonna like fall victim to the perfectionism, the death that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, more music's
Yeah,
gonna.
I've known some of those artists that hoard music. I know those. I've worked with some of them as like doing marketing and PR, and y'all sometimes y'all can hoard music.
Yeah, it's so sad, and that's why I think I was quick to release, the last couple joints. That's why I'm glad Bless down to release this one as quickly as he was because I mean it could be a great song, but if I've been sitting with it for more than 6 months, it might not it probably
Mm-hmm.
out. So we just got to strike when the iron's hot. But what's next is more music if I can help it. Hopefully, I can continue getting my reps in. I've been hitting a lot of open mics up. I really want to work on my performance and figure out how to make it more interactive, more compelling, so that more people can come out to the shows. And I got a couple EPs that are kind of just sitting. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with them. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just more music. Hopefully, more life, more growth, more of that. Other than that, I don't know. Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Like there's no any of these questions that I ask. There is no right answer to any of them, and I love asking that as the last question. And I always keep it open ended, like what's next, because I don't want to say, well, what's next with your performing? Like what's next? I want to leave it open so people can internalize it how they want to internalize it and answer it how they want to answer it. Yeah, I thought that was a great answer, and I totally feel you on like going with the flow and like seeing where things are. Like in my like other career, like teaching, like yeah, I have to have like a plan. But even then, you don't have a plan. But like especially in like this type of industry, like where I'm like interviewing people and like talking to artists, like I'm kind of just going with the flow. So like I definitely hear you on that, and I think we gotta step out of like the we got to know everything that's going to happen in our lives and just kind of like surrender and just like take control where we can and yeah, just kind of go with the flow and the vibe and the energies of the world and see things that they're coming and take opportunities where we can. um he said no face sometime soon, he says, sticking my head. That's hilarious.
We got a good song. It'll come out. It'll come out soon.
Yeah, now I'm curious. So you can't hoard that one because now I'm curious.
It's good. It's one of the songs that I feel like I can speak for him when I say it's a song that we can live by until we're in our old and gray. But that's the only kind of music that we're interested in making moving forward. So yeah.
Well,
that's
okay, Geronimo.
Gets the gears going. I'm like, what is next?
Yeah.
Gonna happen when I walk out of here.
Yeah, for sure. For anybody who joined just now or in the last, like, I don't know, 15 minutes to 30 minutes, my name is Alex Raquel, not Rachel. A lot of people say Rachel, but it's Raquel. It's like spelled like, I guess how a lot of people spell or say Rachel, but it's pronounced Raquel, so it's Alex Raquel. This is Suga Friendz podcast. I'm here with Geronimo, and I'm basically just having a great conversation and good dialogue about. He's an artist. He's a rapper to be specific, and we're just having great conversations. I'm asking him about his music and life, and this live will be posted, so definitely look out for it. Lastly, Geronimo, if you have anything you want to plug, you can plug it. I know you got a performance coming up.
Yeah, so new single, right? Closing Act is out on all streaming platforms. You can hit the link in my bio to stream it or download it at your own price. Shout out Bless One, who I believe is in attendance for producing, mixing, and mastering the track. It's beautiful, and God willing, we will have some more stuff on the way. I'm going to be performing in Woodbridge, Virginia. I don't imagine anybody here is in Woodbridge, Virginia, but if you are, pull up. It's going to be fun. I've got some friends that I'm bringing out for the performance. And thank you for this opportunity. This has been a very thought-provoking conversation. It's definitely priming me for the week to come. And yeah, I'm excited. This is dope.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely have somebody get some clips of that performance and post it up so I can see it. Yes, Bless One. Yes, great job on producing that song and, like you said, mixing and mastering. And it was absolutely stunning and beautiful when I first heard it. And I think a lot of people are gonna like it. And so yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people have been giving you reviews too of your work. I've been seeing you like post it up too. That's good to see and good to hear that you're getting out there and having people write about you. That's really, really important. I think even more than like interviews, I think putting the pen to the paper and like recording it traditionally is so important.
Yeah, it's big. It's big. I mean, every part of it is big, and yeah, it just means a lot that anyone would think about it enough to put a pen on it. And I think a lot of artists. I actually write for a blog, Virginia-based blog, Music Shop, and one thing that always baffled me was how rappers would like an article, retweet it, and then just move on with their life. I'm like, these are your flowers. You gotta water them, because it lets the world know that you want more flowers. So and like it's such a writing an article is an art.
Believe me, as a English degree holder, I know.
You can't fake that sincerity and the thoughtfulness that comes with like solid review. So I'm appreciative to all blogs that have been sharing it. Hopefully more to come, but I'm happy with what we've got so far. So dope.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, Geronimo. I'm just so honored to have you on, and I wanted to get it in because I know you, like you said, everybody go get Closing Act. That's his new release, and I want to get you on for this month because I was like, he had a new release coming out. Got to get him on.
Yeah, you appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Again, for people who are just joining, this is Suga Friendz podcast. I'm here with Geronimo. Everybody go check out his new release, The Closing Act, produced by Bless One. He's actually in the chat. And look out for the rest of his, happenings and comings, new music, performances. He's got a performance tomorrow in Woodbridge, Virginia. If you over there, if anybody in here is like from there or, around there, go see him perform. Check out his Instagram, follow him. I don't know if you have any other platforms, social platforms that, you want to shout out, but.
Oh yeah, you can get it all at my website, saidiwould.com. The song is at saidiwould.com/closing act. From there, you can branch off into your platform of choice. All my links are on there, so that's where I live.
Hey, thank you so much for coming here. We're going to close out. Thanks to everybody in the chat who, contribute to the conversation and watched. I really appreciate everyone's time. You can watch the playback on my Instagram page, AlexRaquel_. Thank you so much. Have a great night, Geronimo.
Hey, there it is. Thank you.
We'll see each other around in the Lupe Discord.
Of course. Shout out to Ellen.
Okay, see you later.
All right.